The Reggie Jackson was on the pregame of that Rickwood game that we had just talked about, and I hope everybody that generally care or like sports, I hope you watched it. I just think it's really important and awesome to have those kind of moments. Reggie Jackson was asked a question about Alex Rodriguez. Now, before we play this, I'm not 100% sure how clear you're going to hear it, but there is a little bit of language in this that you don't normally hear on the airwaves.
Yeah.
I thought Fox just laying out and letting it keep going was awesome.
I'm sure there was somebody slightly panicking behind the scenes of, I don't know if we could do this, but it made the story more real and authentic, which was necessary.
I would love to play it in total as is. I didn't know what FCC stuffs apply to radio anymore. Yeah. Shout out Howard Stern for ruining it all for all of us. But we're just going to play it in the whole thing. So this is Reggie Jackson being asked by Alex Rodriguez about the experience, because he endured some of this playing in Birmingham. And here was Reggie Jackson.
Alex, when people ask me a question like that, it's like, coming back here is not easy. The racism that I played here, when I played here, the difficulty of going through different places where we traveled. Fortunately, I had a manager and I had players on the team that helped me get through it. But I wouldn't wish it on anybody. People said to me today, I spoke, and they said, you think you're a better person, you think you won when you played here in Concord. I said, you know, I would never want to do it again. I walked into restaurants and they would point at me and said, the nigger can't eat here. I would go to a hotel and they said, the nigger can't stay here. We went to Charlie Finley's country club for a welcome home dinner, and they pointed me out with the N-word. He can't come in here. Finley marched the whole team out. Finally, they let me in there. He said, we're going to go to the diner and eat hamburgers. We'll go where we're wanted. Fortunately, I had a manager, Johnny McNamara, that if I couldn't eat in the place, nobody would eat. We'd get food to travel. If I couldn't stay in a hotel, they'd drive to the next hotel and find a place where I could stay. Had it not been for Raleigh Fingers, Johnny McNamara, Dave Duncan, Joe and Sharon Rudy, I slept on their couch 3-4 nights a week for about a month and a half. Finally, they were threatened that they would burn our apartment complex down unless I got out. I wouldn't wish it on anyone.
Yeah, he also added that he had a really, short temper, a hot fuse, and he had a lot of people help him in his life at that point to not be involved. He said, basically, and there's an audio clip, you can find it, but paraphrasing, says something to the effect of, I would have beat somebody's ass.
Yeah.
And you probably would have found me hanging from an oak tree.
I would have been dead.
Yeah.
If there weren't people there to calm me down.
That is his, because in real time, it's muted in that clip. You can kind of still hear it, but like in real time, it wasn't muted. They didn't know he was going to say that word.
Alex Rodriguez just asked him a question about, because he played a year in Birmingham when he was drafted.
60s.
1967.
The A's, Finley got the affiliation for, I don't know, one of his minor league teams there with the A's, and so he was there.
I don't think I'm being
that
hyperbolic.
Was the most
I think
important
that's
5 minutes of the whole thing.
That's maybe as raw and real that we've ever heard in any sports broadcast in my lifetime.
Yeah, I thought it was incredibly necessary considering the game, the place you were playing, and what you were honoring last night, because it's very easy to say, what a wonderful story, and how great we're honoring all these ball players who deserve to be honored, and how this is such a cool night for Major League Baseball. I was happy to see, I can't remember who the Cardinal was they interviewed before the game, but he had a history with the Negro Leagues, and his dad had taught him about it, and he knew a lot about it. And he basically said, should have happened a long time ago, but I guess better late than never that some of these guys are still alive to see this and to be honored for this. And it was a reminder of, yes, I'm glad that progress has gotten to the point where we're acknowledging this league, but it's 2024. What the hell took you so long, Major League Baseball? Mm-hmm. But it was a very cheery, wow, what a great, let's do a concert and let's have fun. And all that stuff was great for the broadcast, but this was the reality. This is what these guys were dealing with. And he was an incredible person to talk about it. One, because he experienced it firsthand in his year in 1967. That's not even that long. 1967. My dad was 17 years old in 1967.
I'll be honest with you. In the trust tree, I didn't know Reggie Jackson was impacted like that.
I mean, he wasn't a part of the Negro Leagues.
No, I know, but
yeah,
but in my mind, the timelines are different, right? Like in my mind, and then he tells that story, and I'm like,
1967.
Wow.
That was his understanding, and that's what he had to go through. His dad also played in the Negro Leagues. He was, I think, second baseman for many years. I can't remember what team he played for, but he went through it firsthand, not being able to play Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
And then his son goes through it when he's in the minor leagues growing up in Birmingham in 1967, and he made his debut, I think, in 68, the very next year, and went on to have one of the greatest careers in baseball history.
Mm-hmm.
But to his point, a lot of credit goes to the people who were able to keep his emotions in check, which I don't even know how you do, being called that and yelled that all the time. It was an incredibly powerful story, and I thought one of the best moments of the night last night.
I just think that's I think you say this quite a bit when this kind of topic gets brought up, but I do think it's important to just mention it. Like it's really not that long ago.
No, it's in our parents' lifetime. I mean, I wasn't alive in 1967. My dad was a junior in high school in 1967. My mom was a sophomore in high school in 1967.
That was 4 years before I was born.
Yeah.
Well, you see. I mean, you see all the players.
Yeah,
like they all played through that, and they're just out there celebrating in 2024. Like, hey, look at us, we're back, and we're all allowed to be out here together. You know, like it's just I don't know. It's stuff like that. It's I'm aware of it, and then like those moments happen, and I'm just like captivated watching this on my television.
Well, and I think it's to Swag's point in the last segment, to do something like this every year, I think is powerful because as you saw in the pregame ceremony, the vast majority of these guys that played, I was shocked that many of them were still alive to begin with.
Too, yeah.
But they're not going to be, we got a 99-year-old throwing out the first pitch. I was thinking about this the other day when we had the 80th anniversary of D-Day and how there were, a handful maybe of guys who were alive. And we are very shortly approaching the reality where nobody is alive that remembers that or that was able to witness it or saw it and can retell it in a first-person angle. And that's what we're approaching with the Negro Leagues. We're very close to that, where there's nobody's going to be alive to tell you exactly what it was
like. The youngest people on D-Day were, 17 maybe?
17 years old. So you're 97, 98, 99 years old. And that's in 4 years, you're all going to be dead.
It's secondhand storytelling.
Exactly. And then it passes down generation, but there wasn't a first story or firsthand account of it. And that's what I thought was so powerful, Reggie Jackson. It wasn't Barry Bonds talking about what his godfather, Willie Mays, had to go through and how tough his struggle was and all the things that he had to deal with. It's Reggie Jackson saying, this happened to me. Yeah. And if I didn't have people keeping me in check, I'm not Mr. October. I'm dead somewhere in Alabama because I would have gotten a fight at a bar.
First-hand account of overt racism not that long ago.
It's crazy.
For somebody that would go on to become Mr. October.
Mr. October.
One of the most popular players in Major League Baseball.
Yeah. And that's what he endured.
Yeah.
Great stuff by Reggie Jackson yesterday. And again, shout out Major League Baseball, Fox, everybody. They did it right. And they need to do it every year. I think those things to highlight and talk about are very important.
Yes, they are.